exist more in the purport, but Krishna is the only one. And so the soul is, we have qualities of the soul mentioned here, and one of the qualities is unbreakable, so cannot be broken into pieces, and cannot be dissolved, cannot be burned, cannot be dried. And when we think about it, all those qualities, they are completely in contrary to the body. With the body can be, the parts of the body can be easily broken. Maybe some of you have had this experience before, that you had your leg broken or arm broken. And so many material objects can be easily broken. We get a new phone or a new laptop, and after some time it breaks, because this is the nature of the matter, that it's just breaks after some time. And also we can dissolve matter in water. We can dissolve salt in water. All those things happen to the body. And then Srila Prabhupada explains, translates, the soul is everlasting, present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same. So again, we can compare it to the qualities of the body, and we can see this is completely contrary. So the soul is everlasting, and the body is constantly changing. The body undergoes those 6 changes. The body is born, then the growth, just like a baby. The baby is born, then the baby grows, then the baby stays for some time in a certain situation, position. Stays in a certain situation, position, and then produces byproducts, children, then gradually gets old, dwindles, and then vanishes into oblivion. So those changes, the soul never undergoes those changes. And because soul is eternal, that's why actually in this material world, everyone is looking for permanent situation. Everyone is looking for permanent relationship, for permanent beauty. You know, there's all sorts of permanent makeup and permanent this and that. And everything is meant to be permanent settlement. But actually, this is such an illusion. It can never happen. Nothing can be permanent in this material world. And we are still trying, but it's just impossible. But this desire to try to have permanent situation is there naturally, because by nature, as a spirit soul, we are permanent. So, coming to the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, all these qualifications of the atomic soul definitely prove that the individual soul is eternally the atomic particle of the spirit whole, and he remains the same atom eternally without change. So this is very interesting, that by looking at our qualifications, our qualities, we can actually understand who is Krishna, what qualities Krishna has. And I was thinking about how when we look at the child, and we can see the parents are there of the child, and we can see, oh, this child has eyes like the mother and smile like the father. So this child, I know that this child is the child of those 2 people. And similarly, when we analyze our qualities, we can understand that this is how Krishna is, because we come from him, and naturally we have his qualities, because he is our father. And so it's said here that we are eternally the atomic particle of the spirit whole. So yes, we are the part of the whole. So we are part and parcel of Krishna, but we are so small. It's atomic, so extremely, extremely small. And then Srila Prabhupada says the theory of monism is very difficult to apply in this case because the individual soul is never expected to become one homogeneously. So in my understanding, this refers to the idea of Mayavadis who claim that after liberation, everyone is just merging into one soul, and they claim that only because of the illusion, because of the Maya, we think we are different from God, but actually we are all the same. So this is a challenge. There's this theory. Srila Prabhupada says that it's impossible to apply because the individual soul is never expected to become one homogeneously, because every one of us is individual eternally, and this is also why actually Krishna wants all of the souls to be back with him, because with each and every one of you he has very special relationship which he doesn't have with another soul, and he wants everyone to be back. So then Srila Prabhupada says, after liberation from material contamination, the atomic soul may prefer to remain as a spiritual spark in the effulgent rays of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but the intelligent soul enter into the spiritual planets to associate with the Personality of Godhead. So yes, we as living entities, we have our free will, and this is also why we are here in this material world. We chose to be here, and we can also choose to either, after liberation, if somebody is worshipping the impersonal aspect of Krishna, Brahman, if somebody has achieved Brahman realization, then after liberation they will stay in the Brahma Jyoti. But Srila Prabhupada says that the intelligent soul enter into the spiritual planets to associate with the Personality of Godhead. So who is this intelligent person? What do you think? Who is this intelligent person? Yes, those who worship the Lord by Sankirtan Yagya. So yes, very good. So they are devotees of the Lord, and this is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 6:47, where Krishna says, where Arjuna is actually quite bewildered, thinking about how can he become a yogi, how can he practice austerities, how can he just sit on kusha grass and meditate. His mind is just going all over the place. How can he become a yogi? But Krishna says, yoginam api sarvesham madgatanantaratmana Shraddhavan bhajate yomam samayukta tamomataha. So he says that of all the yogis, the greatest yogi is the one who always thinks of me, meditates on me, and who always remembers me. And so this is the greatest yogi. The most intelligent person is actually the devotee of the Lord. So that's why the intelligent choice, which Srila Prabhupada says here, is to worship Krishna in his form as a person, and that will guarantee that we will, after liberation, we will have the opportunity to serve him directly as a person. And then he says the word Sarvagata, all-pervading, is significant because there is no doubt that living entities are all over God's creation. So, yes, Sarvagata means that everywhere, the living entities are everywhere. There is no place where there is no living entities, even in the stone. I remember in my hometown, we used to have a garden, and there were stones in the garden. And on the stones, there were plants growing on the stone. And maybe you also saw, maybe you have also seen in your life that the plants can also grow on the stone. So this is really amazing, and we can understand that this is in this way that we understand that the living entities are everywhere, and how the seed got there in the stone. We have no idea, but this is inconceivable actually for us, inconceivable powers which are there in this material world. And even if we look at our body, there are also inconceivable powers. Like we have no idea how does it happen that the food that we take it is processed and it's transferred into energy, and how does it happen that the nails and hair, how they grow, and even after the soul leaves the body, sometimes the nails and hair grow. So this is completely inconceivable for us. And it's inconceivable because Krishna is inconceivable, and because his powers are inconceivable, and we have some little percentage of his inconceivable powers. And then Srila Prabhupada says, they live on the land, in the water, in the air, within the earth, and even within the fire. The belief that they are sterilized in fire is not acceptable, because it is clearly stated here that the soul cannot be burned by fire. So yes, I was listening to the class on this verse by Srila Prabhupada, and he was saying how human beings, when they look at the water and they understand, okay, there are living entities, they're living in the water, and the human being understands, I cannot live in the water because I have this experience, I was trying, and I cannot breathe for more than a few minutes, or maybe even less. And but they understand because they've seen the living entities living there. But just because they cannot see that there are some living entities in the fire, they just reject the idea, because the human being thinks that unless I experience, unless I can perceive it with my material senses, I cannot believe it. But this is very risky, because we know from the Shastras that our senses are imperfect, and we are easily we can easily be illusioned. So that is why we, even if something is not perceivable through our senses, it doesn't mean that it's not happening. And because Krishna says that the living entities are sarvagata, all-pervading, living everywhere, so that's why we need to understand that even in the sun planet there are living entities. And Srila Prabhupada explains that actually that in the sun globe there is also city and buildings, just like here. It's just that we cannot perceive it, and because with our material, with the body that we have, we can never survive there. But similarly, the fish is surviving in water, and we wouldn't survive there. So we can understand that there are different living entities with different bodies, and because they have different bodies, so they are able to survive in different atmosphere. And the last part of the purport. Therefore, there is no doubt that there are living entities also in the sun planet with suitable bodies to live there. If the sun globe is uninhabited, then the word Sarvagata, living everywhere, becomes meaningless. So that was the main points that I wanted to make. We have 5 minutes for discussion. If you'd like to raise some points or ask questions. Anyone? Yes?
Thank you for the wonderful class. I was just thinking about this last point that you made. About that there are living entities in the sun. And how could we verify that?
So you're saying that Srila Prabhupada says that the living entities are there in the sun globe, and how can we verify that? Yes, there are things that we cannot verify by our experience or by our senses, but this is just like Srila Prabhupada gives this analogy, that when the child wants to know who is my mother, who is my father, then the child goes to the mother and asks, who is my father? And only the mother can tell. And then the child just has to accept this knowledge that, okay, I have to trust my mother. So similarly for us, the mother, this is our mother, the Shastra is our mother. So we just have to accept it. And and this is how we can know for sure. How can you trust Shastra? Because it comes straight from Krishna. And Krishna is the only person who knows everything. And maybe sometimes it may be, somebody may be not sure, how can I just trust like that? But the best is just to try this experience, to experience by yourself what happens if you follow the Shastra, what happens if you follow the instructions of the spiritual master, of the acharyas, what is said in these books. If you just try to read the books, chant Mahamantra, you will experience yourself, and then you will develop trust and faith. Otherwise, yes, it's difficult, because we have been cheated so many times by many different so-called spiritualists, and our trust may be broken. But this is really this is the real knowledge, and this is the best that we can have. But we have to experience it, and then we will really we will develop trust and faith. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay. If not, then thank you very much for listening. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. All glories to assembled devotees. Hare Krishna.